we are going to be talking a little showdown with Mr. Showdown himself, Mr. Rody over here. So hopefully we can figure out a way to get into this kind of a weird Monday night game. It's funny because everybody keeps saying the same thing, that even on our Discord and all over the place, that, oh, this slate sucks. This is a terrible one gamer because you just know where things are going to go. And I don't really feel that way. I actually feel a little differently. I feel like there's a bunch of guys you could take stabs at that are cheap and going to be low owned. That I'm not saying their upside is massive, but that guys who can, potentially score a touchdown, potentially get 5 fantasy points, which might be good enough, especially because like you, I'm going to guess that we're pretty much going to be mostly playing Josh Allen as our captain tonight, right, Rody?
Yeah, I think that's where you got to go. I think he's a lock and load. I know he busted on the last time we talked about him being lock and load, but I think it's different here tonight. He's got the upside to score the most points. He can easily go for 30 without the multiplier. So I think he might be our guy tonight.
Makes sense. What are your thoughts on the just before we get into all the other things and all the regular positions and all the other things? Defense is interesting to me. Well, the Buffalo Bills defense is mildly interesting. They're kind of expensive, but there is a path, right? I know that they had some soft opponents and the Tennessee's more competent offensively, but they put up double digits in 3 out of their 5 games so far defensively. Now, look, they had a defensive touchdown against KC. It's going to happen. You're going to get some weird stuff, occasionally. But I could see them, possibly being double digits. I just still think I'm staying away from the defenses and kickers, particular on this particular slate. If I did take anybody, I would say Tyler Bass would probably be my favorite play. But I think I'm probably staying away from them. How about where do you stand on those guys? And then we'll get into the guys we actually do like.
I don't know, the defense wise, I think I do like the Bills defense a little bit today. I think I'm going to be more on the Bills side though today, but I think I might go with the kickers. I think the kickers play out a little bit better in this game. Mm-hmm. I think, maybe the Tennessee kicker gets bogged down on a drive they got going, kicks a 50-yarder, and right there you guys got like a little bit important. So I think being heavy on the kickers tonight might be a little bit better idea instead of the defenses, I think so. But a pick six can happen. Josh Allen's going to be throwing it. You can even go with the Titans defensive guys and hope for that's your only play on that team. Maybe they get a pick six, and then if Josh Allen gets the ball right back, he's going to be chucking it again. So, you just got to play for that. Or he fumbles. I know he runs a little bit too. So there's always sacks. So I think they're all viable. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go tonight. I think it's definitely a viable option.
Yeah, I get it. I guess maybe if I was going to script a million lineups, I would probably get to more of it. One thing I wouldn't do, no matter how you build, is leave Josh Allen out of any of your lineups. That's my personal take. You could say whatever. Oh, that's obvious. I don't care. It's the same thing we ran into with Lamar last time. Just trying to fade these guys, it's just getting way, way too cute. They're just the entire offense. You know what I mean? And it would take a really, really, really dreadful game and potentially a blowout for him to not put up a monster game, right? We can't leave him out of – we can't – I don't know. I'm not going to have any lineups that don't have Josh Allen in them.
Yeah, I always like to fade a couple with the quarterback just in case something happens because I build a lot. But like tonight, probably just going to be a lock button. I'd say that it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's the straightforward, obvious. And again, talking about captain, let's talk about a couple things real quick because, I'm looking at some captain projections and some projected ownerships, and they're always a little bit off on these things. But I do like the 2 most popular captains the most, and that would be Allen and Diggs. I do think it's interesting that my Eskimo brother, sorry to say that again, it's an ongoing joke from back when I was at RG about this, but Emmanuel Sanders is overpriced seemingly for the slate, although he's actually been more productive this year than Stephon Diggs. A lot of that's been game flow and they haven't needed to throw the ball a ton, and he's been on the right side of the touchdown side of things basically. He had 17 targets over his last 3 games, and he has 4 touchdowns. But I could see him being an off-the-board captain I would consider using. Who outside of Allen, and I know you're very into the Allen thing, and I know he's your number 1 guy and all that stuff. Who outside of Allen do you think would be viable, though, if you're not going to use him at captain?
I do like Diggs. I think we talked a little bit before the show. Diggs is captain. Emmanuel Sanders is priced up a little bit more. So I know he's having a good year. So that might get people off him, actually. Mm-hmm. So it might not be a bad option to actually play him a little bit more because everyone's like, oh, man, I don't want to pay this for this guy. He was like $4K in the beginning of the season, and now he's up to like 8.6, So right there with Diggs' price, maybe a guy You go back to like a Beasley or something. But even though he'll be chalky, I think Gabe Davis is coming at 13%. But I mean, everyone plays that guy too because he's like, oh my God, he scored a touchdown early in the year. Like, I want to get that guy in. He gets looks in the red zone. So maybe sticking with that Emmanuel Sanders is maybe a better play than people think.
Yeah, I think that actually of those two, I think you're going to see Beasley captain a little more than Sanders actually. So I actually kind of like going that route. I also don't know if this is a game that it's going to be a big Cole Beasley where we need to throw the ball, 40 times and a million underneath routes. Tennessee gets beaten over the top all the time. And not that Sanders is the same old Emmanuel Sanders that he used to be, but he can. He still can hit a bit for a big play. Whereas Cole Beasley, you're sort of counting on the PPR side of things to go your way, which I think he's a fine regular guy to fit in. I just don't think that's not how my builds are taking me today. Personally, I think he's going to be more popular than Sanders too by a pretty good amount. So I'll take the shot with Sanders. Is basically what I'm saying. What else? Is there any other captains? I mean, I'll just say I'm not going to go on the. I am going to play Derrick Henry, but I'm not going to captain Derrick Henry. This is a really good run defense. He can always break through. He's completely viable. If he was going to be unowned, that'd be one thing. But I think right now I've got him as the third highest projected captain. Tannehill is a little bit ahead of him. No, they actually have him ahead of Tannehill a little bit. I think I actually would prefer the Tannehill because of the way the game flow might go. And I love the idea that you sort of alluded to in our Discord, and talk a little bit about the backup running backs here for Tennessee and why they're viable. I think we're on the same page here.
I mean, McNichols has been getting some play. I think so. I think he's got like he's getting in without even in the game. So I mean, like he got 16 points. I mean, he's got more than 5 points every game, guys, every game this season. AKA, you don't need that many points to win. I mean, he is 3K, but like it's a good play. I think he had an explosion game for 16 and a half. Yep. He gets in the end zone one time. I mean, guys, that's a GPP winner right there on your roster.
So. And you would think, right? Like if they, at some points he's got the reception upside. If they're down big, if they're down 3 scores, you might be seeing the Jeremy McNichols all over the place, and you can play him along. You can play him along with obviously Derrick Henry too.
I believe the Jets is the game they struggled in, right? The Jets was Henry in that game?
The Jets where he would, he had 12 targets and 8 receptions in that game.
12 targets the Jets game. That's nuts. So
yeah, I mean he has. I'm looking on the season. I think he might have. He actually, he does. He has more targets on the season than Henry does. Which not that Henry gets targeted all that much, but he, just because he's in the game, he'll end up getting some targets. It's crazy that McNichols actually. He fits. So I'm gonna make a little note here that I want to definitely get some McNichols exposure. Do we want to go any further? Do you want to go crazy and take a shot that Blasingame plays a few? I don't think we need to for this position. I think if we're going to play 2K200 or that price range, there's some other guys we can talk about. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. And then are you considering either running back for Buffalo? Because I think that Singletary might be fairly popular. I don't think Zach Moss will still be he'll be on a little bit, but not as much as Singletary. And Zach Moss has actually been pretty good this year.
He has been, yeah.
Is he going to be a little bit under-owned today?
It's coming in at 17.5 on DK at 7K. Maybe I'm gonna get some sprinkles of them for sure. I do like that play. I think I'm gonna go heavy on the Buffalo side though, like at least 2 pass catchers in the lineup for Josh Allen captains, and then try to either run it back with like a kicker or Zach Moss, Singletary, McNichols. Kind of run it with like maybe 1 or 2. Let's see, Titans, so like a McNichols, Julio Jones, a couple of those maybe random tight ends they got over there on the Buffalo side, or Tennessee side. I mean, like Frisker, Swam, those guys. I mean, Tennessee, like a random guy scores all the time for this team. It's so frustrating.
That's what I like though about this.
No, that's what I mean. That's why you got to get all these sprinkles of these guys.
Right. So you have Swaim in there. The guy who I'd be the highest on would be Pruitt, actually, ahead of Swaim.
I just put just now 5 on all those guys. I want to get a little of each guy and see where we're at.
Yeah, I'm going to be higher on Pruitt. I'm going to be in the 25% range on him a little bit.
There you go. That's a stand. I like it.
But I want to take a stand on that, and I also want to take a stand with the. I'm looking for a couple 200 guys, and if we're going to talk about Swaim, I'm going to talk about Cameron Botson. I have a good friend who's a friend of someone on the Tennessee coaching staff. I don't even know who it is, his friend, But apparently they keep saying they like this kid. I did give him some rushing attempts in the last game. He's only caught a couple passes this season, but did get 4 targets a couple weeks ago. I know we had no AJ Brown, but if you're talking about, Chester Rogers, as if you want to take a really cheap shot, these are the guys who we're looking at, right? I mean, you have to sort of pick these really, really, really cheap, weird off the board options. But all you have to do is hit on one play and you're in good shape. And along those lines, Marcus Johnson actually fits into that. I just think instead of Marcus Johnson, I think that Botson would have a chance to get on the field potentially more. I think Johnson got to play more because there was no Brown and Julio. It could go the other way, but that's the way I'm speculating, at least on this slate.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's good. You got it. No Josh Reynolds, by the way.
Yeah, no to Christian Rodriguez. He's not playing. Josh Reynolds is not active. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt you, man.
Well, I just seen the question come in on the thing.
Yeah. Zach, try and it's a hard question, hard to understand what your question is there exactly. So what would happen if this is a low scoring game? Is that a real possibility? Sure, it's a possibility. I don't think it's
defenses, kickers, kind of like last night, guys. Like where both kickers were actually optimal or whatever. So like, get those field goals. Maybe like Roethlisberger last night was spreading the ball around a couple different guys. Najee even got a touchdown pass from him. The other side of the ball was real kind of slow. You'd have to see that. And I think Tennessee can do that. So that's kind of why I'm off those guys as much as I'm more on the Bills side. Is I think as long as you get the right 2 guys at the production in Tennessee, then you can have a chance at winning it with and then mix and match in the 4 guys on the Buffalo side that I kind of like.
Yeah, makes sense to me. What are some other plays? You're talking about the Josh Allen, the 2 receivers. It certainly makes sense strategically, all that stuff. What about the Tennessee side, though, with the main plays? Because I am not finding myself with as much A.J. Brown and Julio Jones personally today.
Yeah, I think I'm going to create a rule where I think I'm going to take a stand and make sure only one of those guys in the lineup, no good too crazy, and then whichever one kind of pops out the most. Probably Julio going to be more. I think A.J. Brown's been kind of banged up a little bit. If he's going to be 40% owned, and he's not looked real good, maybe tonight take a lower on him stance. So
yep, I do think and that's sort of why I'm playing the tight end dance with Tennessee between Firkser, Pruitt, and Swaim, taking shots at those guys. They will find these guys. I mean, Pruitt has a catch in every game this year that he's played in, at least one catch. I mean, Swaim, not the same thing, but Firkser, I mean, certainly is a guy who is somewhat viable just because. I don't, I can't afford to play these guys if I want to play Henry, Diggs and my main plays would be Henry, Diggs and obviously I keep saying Tannehill, Josh Allen. But I personally am, I don't know. I'm not. I want to play the passing game, but I want to play the shots. I want to take the guys who are going to have, Westbrook, who's going to have one shot at the end zone, or I mentioned Marcus Johnson or Botson. Any of those guys could easily turn into the 3rd receiver over Chester Rogers, and that's just the way I'm looking at it. I know I'm going to play super high variance on these slates. I want to try and solo win at one point. And I don't play as much volume as you do, so I don't know. That's sort of the route I'm going.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind it. I like getting those guys in there. So I excluded a couple of them. I'm probably going to bring them back though. I don't know, man. I so hard. You might talk me into this Botson character. It reminds me of like Winnie the Pooh, man, the kids show. Christopher Robin and Botson, right? Or what is it? I don't know.
Maybe,
regardless.
I don't know which one you're referring to, but
yeah, Winnie the Pooh. There's a guy named Botson in there. Is it the I don't know, one of the characters maybe. I don't know.
I just thought it was interesting I thought that was interesting that he even had 2 rushing attempts last week. Like just the fact that, they got to try to get him involved. And I understand he didn't put up any numbers without these guys there. He did catch a touchdown in that late drive against the Jets when they were coming back a couple weeks ago. So I'm just going to take a couple shots. I'm not saying these are plays you're making, that you're expecting any results from. There's no right to get too upset if these guys don't hit, or Westbrook or Marcus Johnson. But that's what I'm going to do in order to get different. And by the way, on Showdown so far this year, we've seen it a lot. We had it last week with Austin Dillon for Austin Dillon for. Look, he put up 3.3 fantasy points, but he had 3 targets and he caught 2 balls. And those 3.3 fantasy points were on, I believe, the millionaire making lineup, and he was 3.5% owned. And sometimes you need to do that in order to do some other things. Triple J is asking about a 4-2 Buffalo stack. Rody, what are you doing in terms of stack organization this week?
Yeah, I like that. I might set the rule right now just to only get 2 Tennessee guys per build. Maybe allow a 5-1 in a few. We'll see what it looks like. If I start getting too many 5-1 builds, then I usually make sure I get 2 guys of the other team. I like that approach. I know you said earlier you were thinking some more 4-2 Tennessee options as well.
Partially because that's where more of the value is.
I even think 3-3's popping up as some good leverage I see here too. So maybe that mid-range build is looking okay.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's see. We have Bass. We have those guys talked about. So I'm just going to talk about some of my ownerships, and then you can go ahead and I'll get your thoughts on sort of that thing. I'm going to probably play most of my lineups are going to have Allen, Diggs, Henry, and Tannehill. That means I'm going to play 2 cheap guys, basically, no matter who I decide to be captain of that group. So if I'm going to play those guys, and in order to get the cheap guys, I'm going to be sprinkling. I'm going to have a little bit of Isaiah McKenzie, which is always one of those weird ones. And then what was it? The last year, didn't he have somebody mentioned him on a show, and I remember I think I had him in like one lineup. He caught 3 touchdowns, I believe. It was the last year, or the year before, I can't remember. But it was really, really one of those just weird spots, and you're just taking some shots on these guys. Yeah, I don't think Christian Rodriguez. I don't think that's any kind of a fade. I don't think most people are playing the defenses in this game. I do think some people will play Buffalo. I don't think anybody's hardly playing. I think you're talking about like maybe around 8% or so, maybe a little bit less even probably for Tennessee. And I think you're probably talking about 15% for Buffalo. So I don't think it's a very, very big fade of any kind. But I have the Botsons, I have the Pruitts, I have the McKinseys, I've got the Westbrooks in there. I've got Marcus Johnson in there. These don't feel amazing. I'm just saying, you want to try and take a shot at trying to hit on one play on the guy. You can make some money with this. That's just the route that I'm going. And I'm trying to keep. I'm actually doing the opposite thing a little bit with Josh Allen. I'm actually trying to keep him more often with just one receiver when he's not my captain. When he is my captain, let's go. He can be. You could have. I'll play 2 receivers with him, but I'm going to actually go the other route and play for Tennessee and then Josh Allen with one of the receivers. Basically, that's my route.
Yeah, I like that too.
So, all right. So let's talk about. And you guys popping in the last questions because we got to let Rody go to get some builds in. He's still got his builds going. Hard working guy. This guy over here.
Dude, telling me about
it. It's a lot of stuff, man. I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do. But all right. So any other plays? If you had to pick of the maybe the mid tier. That's why I'm a little bit against the Singletary plays. I think the ownership is going to be somewhat there, but if you're going to play Singletary, I feel like you should find a way to play a guy who's going to be similarly owned in Cole Beasley, unless you have them in the same lineup. Because Cole Beasley, as much as Singletary is whatever, Cole Beasley is a part of the team. You know what I mean? Like he's a major part of the offense. Whereas Singletary is the spell back. They have gone more to Moss. Moss has put up double digits in every game so far this season that he's played. So that's just my personal take on that. I'm not going to be playing any Singletary tonight. And of course that means he's probably going to break off a monster play and beat me, but if that happens, so be it. Who are some other guys for you? And then I'll just let them ask questions and we'll get out of here after that.
Yeah. I mean, Singletary, I might get a little bit of him. I do like Moss. I think Singletary people are going to kind of forget about. Maybe he gets that one like touchdown on the goal line or something they bring in, but I mean, that could be a difference maker in this game. You're going to need one of these cheaper guys to come in and get you something like that. So it's a possibility. I mean, he's not cheap, but you're going to fall with a lot of builds around that like 3 to 4K range there at the end. You can go with like a kicker or then like one punt guy or double kicker and then like a Beasley or something, then a punt guy. I mean, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm falling some of these builds.
Makes sense.
So,
all right, let's see. Beasley seems like nice leverage on 2 down games recently. I don't think there's any real leverage you're getting with Beasley. I actually think the projections are underrating him in terms of ownership. I think he ends up 40% owned. So I don't think you're getting any weird off the board play, right? Do you think I'm right about that? I mean, I know that other sites have got them projected at 30 or whatever, but I think Beasley ends up closer to 40% owned here. Or even if he's not, still 30% is not getting different enough to win you any real money. What are your thoughts on Beasley? And let's say he is 30% owned. What percentage would you think you'd end up with of him?
I'm getting to. Hang on. As of right now, I don't really have him set for ownerships right now, but I'm going to see how much he's popping in builds.
Yeah, because if you're doing 4-2 for Buffalo, I'm guessing that
I'm getting like 82% or 80 some percent on 50 lineups.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I'm going to probably lower that a little bit. I haven't tweaked them yet, so I'm just kind of building and then getting my 4-2 builds going and just trying to get my other plays in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Triple J likes him in the captain spot. Go ahead and do it. I'm not going to tell anybody on a showdown slate that anything's wrong. I don't like him in the captain spot, but I think that's absolutely that's where you will get a real difference.
I mean, he can get 10 targets, or 10 targets in a game, catch like 8 balls or something across the middle, and he's good yards after catch guy that runs, and maybe he sneaks in for a couple touchdowns after he catches it. So, I mean, that would be ideal captain. He's cheap, and then you can jam other guys. But just remember, when you get a cheaper captain, everyone else that plays him, even though he's 5% the captain, they're going to be jamming the guy. The optimizer is going to say, put Derrick Henry, put Tannehill, put Stephon Diggs with him. So if all those guys go off, it's just a chop at the top, no matter, even though he's 5% owned at captain. So you still got to play, leave money like we talk about, or you still got to play like a McNichols or get different with like a Gabe Davis stack with them or Isaiah McKenzie or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Jamar Chase. Sorry. Vancouver, I think you got the wrong slate looked up or something, because Jamar Chase is an awesome player, but am I missing? Is there another Jamar Chase here that I'm missing?
I don't know.
I don't have anybody named Jamar Chase in this game. There's a Jamar Chase.
Sanders. We're gonna have
Chase is an awesome play in general. I believe he's the lead the league in catches over 15 yards, touchdowns over 15 yards. He's a great receiver on a very underrated, very, very solid Cincinnati team. So I'm not sure where that question was going to, but anyway. All right. So final thoughts before we get out of here, because I know you got to finish your builds. Drop it in. Drop something. Drop maybe a guy who you might have popped up on some of your builds that maybe we didn't either talk about, or maybe that we did that you think kind of stands out.
I mean, I gave you guys the Jeremy McNichols play.
I love that.
You talked about Pruitt you liked there. I think that's a good play, and Bots and Bats. And I mean, it's just really how you're going to combo these guys. Really, I mean, we're giving you the plays that you should be taking, and now just building the lineup to kind of fit that, the 4-2 build, Josh Allen captain, and then just kind of mix and match these kickers maybe and something like that. Even throw a couple of defenses if you want. I mean, if you want to get really different, no one's going to be playing those. They're not even popping in the builds, guys. They're not even like on the optimizers aren't bringing them in either. Even Buffalo, I'm not getting a lot of. So,
yeah, well, I guess we can leave it at this question. I think it depends on somewhat the rest of your build, but the question being Sanders or AJ Brown. I tend to have I have Sanders in my Josh Allen captain lineups, so I'm going to say Sanders from that perspective. Do I expect on average AJ Brown to have a bigger game here? Probably. That's where I am. How about you?
I just bumped up Sanders. I wasn't getting any of them in the builder because of his price. I think his value is not good. I bumped him up. I think I'm going to go more with Sanders over AJ Brown for sure. I do like that. He's been hot. Although somebody has him in a dynasty league that I'm in. So if he does really well, I'm up quite a bit of points. But if he does really, really well, I could lose. So I'm kind of like maybe playing that side of it to say, hey, I could win a lot of money if Sanders wins, and I might lose that. I'll take it.
Yeah. There you go. hedging with the season long. I love it.
I'm hedging with the season long here, boys. Load up on Sanders.
I love the Sanders. I think Sanders is half his own, so that's why I like him. I mean, look, I'm just going to always on these showdown slates just take the lower ownership guys in those situations. So that's where I'm there. But like I said, I would expect if they played this game 100 times that AJ Brown outscores him probably 65% of the time, maybe higher. But also one thing I want to touch on real quick before we leave. Part of what we saw yesterday in the NFL is a great example of what happens in the middle of the season. If you've got guys who are banged up and they get a little bit more dinged up during the game, which happens in football, they come out. We lost Antonio Gibson early yesterday, as I sort of was alluding to on our show. We lost, I can't remember the other receiver that was playing but hurt. But if AJ Brown, if Julio Jones or AJ Brown ends up sort of more banged up than we really think, or if the game turns into a blowout, that's when these value receivers really can come into play. So you get kind of a little bit of an extra boost for them from my perspective. You think I'm off on that?
No, I think you're spot on with that take. I like it.
Okay. All right. We're good. we're gonna get out of here. Rody, thanks as always, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Rody, Rody or one of you guys or myself, somebody go win 6 figures tonight. Let's make some money.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Good luck, everybody.